Well, I don't know. Usually, do you guys want to introduce themselves on the video? I jumped in the video. Yeah.
Okay. Mick Betancourt.
I'm Miles Orion Feldsott.
So when you guys come to the task of adapting a comic into a show, and a comic that has a ton of action, a ton of visual style, I mean, it seems like this is not just we can just, set up a camera over the shoulder for each character or whatever.
Yeah.
What has that process been like going from conception? Because Rick was saying it's been like 4 years of development to get this here. What were the most important pieces, I guess, for you guys to make that show really work?
Well, the first time Rick and I sat down, we were in a barbecue restaurant in Pasadena, and we had a 3-hour conversation about making sure that we could maintain what's at the core of the comic book through the development process, which is really a meat grinder of ideas, and it can really take a piece that's wonderful and turn it into something that's not. And Rick and I had never had that experience. We got tremendous support from Sony and from Sci-Fi in maintaining what's at the core of the book. And so Rick and I's conversation was always, how can we take this and then elevate it, tweak some stuff, make it, adaptable for TV, but then just honor the source material. And that took 4 years.
All right, thank you for your time.
At what point did the comic come to awareness for you, and when did you say, okay, that's the thing that we want to do?
Well, I read the comic roughly about 4 years ago. I was in a comic shop, and I was just coming off one of my TV shows not getting picked up the series, and I was in there looking for something to read, and a kid behind the counter handed me this book, and I read it, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. It had cool action and the heightened world and all of those elements that that hook you in a graphic novel, but it had an authenticity and a truth to that adolescent experience that resonated with me, and I felt like, oh, that's how I felt at that time. I remember that depression. I remember how that girl made me felt, and there was a truth to it. And unlike a lot of stuff that's sanitized, that has young protagonists.
Yeah.
And so at the core, that's what I was interested in, and that's what made me go, I really want to work on this and adapt it for television.
I found the book when it started being developed as a television show, and I was amazed that the action was secondary to the nuanced character moments. I was around that age in the late 80s and in the punk scene in Chicago, and I skated and grew up around a lot of violence, and from 7th grade to freshman year of high school, had no parents really and had to beg on the street for money, and I had an empty apartment to go back to, so I didn't go back to I wasn't homeless like Marcus, but I related a lot to that loner feeling and that feeling of rebellion and going to school. And I actually went to a prep school and no one knew my secret, because if they did, I would wind up going into a state home. So I just forged all the signatures, and I thought, well, whenever they figure it out, I'll just go on the run, So, but I was in the skate scene, in the punk scene, and felt that release that came from being in a band of misfits in a pit while a band's just killing it on stage. And when I had never experienced somebody get that down on paper or see it visually. And then when you go into these great action pieces, I was almost like sad and disappointed, because the people that I loved, yes, they were like their lives were at stake because they were doing this great action stuff, but really it was them just skating and going to the 7-Eleven and hanging out and smoking a joint and talking about their lives and what they liked and what they didn't like. And seeing that in that world, that realistically just blew me away.
So from the graphic novel, what's your favorite characters?
Saya.
Why?
Well, I relate to Marcus, so I mean, I love Marcus, but I love Sai because she's so mysterious, and I haven't seen a character like that. I say that as a consumer of content, like we all are, and just seeing so much and watching so much and reading so much. I just haven't seen a character like her. I want to know more about her. She's not tropey. She kicks ass. Like, she rides bikes, motorcycles. Everything about her. I love everything about her. I love her flaws. I love her ambition. I love the fact that she doesn't take any shit and she speaks her mind. I just think it's... And there's other characters too that I love just that much, but I wouldn't be able to say why, because I'd be revealing some really cool stuff.
spoilers.
Yeah.
Super big spoilers.
For me, it's Willie. Those Marcus Willie scenes were kind of my favorite to work on in the pilot. Their relationship to me is really, really interesting, and Willie's story I find to be fascinating, and the place that he has at the school I find very, very unique. Without giving anything away, but you guys read the comic. You all know what I'm talking about.
Well, let's talk about the Russo of it all, because as your production partners,
And who are those guys?
I don't know. But like, you watched all their TV work, and they did comedy, and then they did Community, and they had paintball gun wars for a whole episode, and then they plussed up to the Marvel movies. It seems like they are kind of genre chameleons that can kind of play with all that stuff.
Sure.
What did the collaboration with them bring to be able to do that 80s punk rock kung fu thing and make it work on the screen?
Well, the reason that they can jump through all these different genres is that they always put story first. And so our very first, when Rick and I first sat down and had dinner with them, they were all about what is the story that we're telling, how can we do it in a way that we've never seen before. And that's where they start every conversation. And they've been incredible collaborators. They've been, they were in the editing room on the pilot, they were in ADR sessions, they were on every casting call and every email and weighing in. And it was almost like they weren't shooting Avengers 3 and 4 at the same time. They are prolific multitaskers, very, very, very talented guys.
Super genuine and dialed in. And I came on after the pilot, so they had a working relationship with the Russo brothers for a year probably before I came on, right? And so I was very curious, like probably everyone at this table, of like, what is this going to be like? And I was blown away by their involvement and passion and engagement. And as a storyteller, it's inspiring to see somebody at that level of success, that grounded and supportive and open of just what can we do, how can we make this the best, and follow up and be available for the follow-up, not just in this moment and then disappear.
Yeah,
it was really incredible.
Most people on that status in the Hollywood just stamp their name on it and keep it moving.
Yeah.
And they're committed to making the show great.
100%.